The lake house was beautiful, all exposed beams and scent of pine, but it didn't silence the chaos. Beth, at 45, felt the constant, low-level thrum of her family, her husband David's booming voice, the clatter of her daughter's phone, and the relentless, youthful energy of her son, Alex, and his college roommate, Parker. Parker, 22, was an anomaly. He moved through the crowded vacation home with a quiet, observant grace that felt less like youth and more like an old soul waiting. While Alex and David wrestled over fishing gear, Parker often found a spot near Beth, helping chop vegetables, offering her the last cup of coffee, or simply reading a book on the deck swing near her chair. The real tension began on the third night. The family had gone to bed, leaving a damp chill in the air after an unexpected downpour. Beth sat alone on the screened porch, watching the rain mist the dark lake. Parker emerged silently, a flannel shirt draped over his shoulders. "Can't sleep," he murmured, his voice low enough that it seemed intended only for the wood grain of the floor. "Too much quiet," Beth lied. She was actually restless, feeling a familiar dull ache of being unseen. Parker sat on the edge of the wicker chair opposite her. "I always find the quietest room is the one you're sitting in, no matter how loud the house is." The conversation drifted easily, from Alex's future to Beth's forgotten dreams of painting. Parker didn't look at her like she was a mother or a wife. He looked at her like she was a story he wanted to read. He talked about how much he admired her, not just her kindness, but the gravity she carried. He spoke without the playful flirtation young men usually adopted, making it feel sincere, profound, and profoundly dangerous. He moved to the edge of her seat, ostensibly to grab the abandoned wine bottle. His hand rested briefly on the armrest, a warm barrier inches from her exposed wrist. "You look like you need to forget things for a little while, Beth," he said, his eyes darker than the night outside. His understanding was the final, devastating breach in her defenses. It was the confirmation that someone saw the weariness beneath her competence. In that moment, the space between them vanished. Beth didn't move towards him. She simply stopped retreating. The surrender wasn't passionate. It was exhausted, a desperate reach for something real in the face of her manufactured life. They moved indoors, to the farthest, darkest corner of the house. The physical reality of the choice was less overwhelming than the silent intensity of his gaze, which promised temporary freedom. She let the low thrum of the rain and the dizzying awareness of his hands blot out the house, the family, and the 23 years that separated them. The act itself was electrifying and profound, an amazing, consuming moment of pure sensation, a fleeting, electric reprieve from her own life. The next morning, the pine-scented air felt cold and unforgiving. Beth woke before dawn, finding herself alone in her marital bed, David snoring heavily beside her. The memory of the night wasn't warm, it was metallic and sharp, like she had swallowed a razor. The first sight of Parker, laughing with Alex at the breakfast table, was like a physical blow. He looked exactly the same, handsome, easy, untroubled, yet everything was irrevocably changed. When he looked up and their eyes met, Parker offered the same familiar, gentle smile, but Beth saw the secret lodged behind his eyes, a tangible, corrosive thing that bound them together and separated her from everything else. The regret hit her then, fierce and immediate. It wasn't regret for the excitement or even the brief, amazing physical connection, but for the profound, careless damage she had inflicted on the simple, flawed structure of her life. She looked at David, still innocently eating his eggs, and at Alex, full of oblivious pride in his brilliant friend. The quiet room she'd sought the night before was now the space inside her own head, and it was filled with a roaring accusation. She knew then that the brief, amazing moment of feeling seen was not worth the endless years she would spend trying to forget what Parker had made her capable of doing. The vacation, the laughter, the summer light, all of it was tainted. The consequence of her surrender was not sustained pleasure, but a cold, heavy silence she would have to carry home.